There she is.
There we go. Thank you, Suki. All right. So, I feel like starting with Retsu and the next set of 3 seals, the classes get shorter and more to the point. I guess there isn't as much to explain because I feel like the last 3 seals are more about really doing the practice and observing how they feel to you and what they mean to you. They're more abstract, if you will. So um, before we get into Retsu for today, I do want us to do a small short contemplation, and then we'll go on from there. So let me go into full screen. Yeah, there we go. All right, let's uh, let's begin by paying attention inside. Just close your eyes, breathe deeply, and bring your attention to yourself, to your mind, your emotions. Be aware of your energy. Be aware of your physical body. Be conscious that you are conscious. Good. Take a moment to observe how attached you are to your perception of things. In other words, how sure are you of what you perceive? And by this, I mean what you see, what you feel, what you can touch. How sure are you that you are sitting or, stepping right now on firm ground? When we are, standing firmly without moving, we perceive as if everything's not moving. But in reality, we know that our planet is spinning very fast. And at the same time, it's going around the sun, also at a very high speed. I don't know the numbers, but we know it's moving. So we perceive or we feel like we're standing still, even though there is movement happening. I believe last week I talked about how we perceive mountains as being still. But if we had a perspective that sees mountains in a long stretch of time, we would see how the earth is moving and mountains form and then disappear, how oceans existed where we now have deserts. Think about a time where you were going through a hardship, a difficult situation, and how you felt like it was probably lasting forever. And it felt like the worst thing ever. And perhaps some years later, you looked at it and thought, oh, that happened. Your perception of things changed. At some point during, I believe, the class on Rin, I also mentioned how for the soul, this lifetime is just another experience. For the human, this is all we get. Both things are true. This is an experience. And for the human, this is all we get. But it all depends on how you're looking at things, how you are choosing to perceive things. And what I want you to try and find is how we get a certain feeling of certainty from our perception, from defining the things we perceive. In other words, try to observe how by controlling, or controlling is not the word I'm looking for, but by try to attach or try to define that a mountain does not move, we feel safe by walking in the mountain. By defining or really attaching to the idea that I'm standing still, I feel safe without thinking that the earth is actually spinning. By defining a painful experience as painful and hard, it is a way for us to really keep focused and move, try to get out of that situation. So perception is a great tool to have. As long as we don't get or stay stuck, as long as we don't deny or pretend like the way we perceive things is the only way to see things. Good. Breathe. Good. I want us to go back to Jin for a moment, last week's practice. So do your mudra of Jin. If you don't remember it, right now you can look at the screen and go back into that idea of everything is evolving and transforming as much as I am. Just like I have my ups and downs, so does the person next to me, my coworkers, my family. Just like I do my best to have a happy life, to make conscious choices, virtuous choices. Most people are. Everything in this universe is constantly evolving and transforming. What fire is made of, everything is made of. O Magnaya Yan Maya Swaha. And go into that visualization of Jinn, because it is a very useful way of transitioning to Retsu. Imagine that you are enormously tall. You're so tall that you have an unobstructed view of the whole universe. You have an unobstructed view of everything around you. And from that observation deck, you can see how everything is like fire. Everything is moving. Everything is transforming. Om Magnaya Yanmaya Swaha. Good. Take a deep breath. Come back and undo your mudra. I think I did share last week when we were talking about the visualization of Jinn. But a couple of weeks ago when I was on vacation, I had the chance, I was in New York City and I had the chance to go to a couple of the observation decks from the skyscrapers. I went to the Empire State Building and another one, the World Trade Center. And when you're up there, or this is what I experienced or what I felt. Just walking the streets of New York City, well, I had 3 points of view. Let me tell you. So I wasn't actually staying in New York City. I was staying in New Jersey. So from where I was staying, I had a view of all of New York City. and I could see the skyline and it looked beautiful, and I got some really nice pictures. But then once I went into Manhattan, into New York City, and I was just walking the streets, it was just like, oh, it's just another city. It's just buildings. It's, I mean, if I look up, there's all these tall buildings, but it looked pretty much like any other city. Um, my perception of the city was different when I was looking at it from afar. It looked like, oh wow, the big city that you always see in the movies and on TV, and it looked cool. But once in there, just people walking around doing their business, working. So it was just, oh, just another city. And then when I went onto the actual to the observation deck, it was even another perspective. It was different. Now I was looking at it from up high, and I could see all the smaller buildings below me. I could see the streets full of cars and people walking and moving. So I had a third perspective, let's say. And this idea of Jin and Retsu kind of remind me of that experience of being up there in the observation deck, because from the New Jersey perspective, let's say, I just saw a static block of buildings, the skyline. But once I was up there and I had kind of an unobstructed view, I could see movement everywhere. Everything was moving. So when we get that unobstructed perspective or view, and the obstructions in our perspective are basically everything we've been learning about for the past few weeks. If you are too attached to your identity, that's going to obstruct your view. If you are still fearful of, or if you're still applying or doing so much control, that's gonna, block or obstruct how you view or perceive your life. If you're still looking for power within, or actually outside, instead of looking or tapping into that power within, that's gonna obstruct how you interact and how you view your world and your life around you. When you go up into that observation deck and you are enormously tall, and now you look at the world as everything is just fire burning and transforming, then you don't have any, you can go down to the ground level, to the ground floor, and then walk around the city and interact with the city, but you still know that everything is just moving, that everything is what you saw from the observation deck. You could look from far away and see the skyline, or see the mountain, like I mentioned in my other example. And even though you know the mountain is there and it is not moving, you also know, or you have that knowledge, that in reality, the mountain is also moving. It's transforming, it's changing. So the idea of Retsu is to learn how to flow, or how to keep an objective mind when it comes to what you perceive. In other words, if you are standing still and not moving, you know that you don't feel any movement, but you still have the objectivity to know that actually we are moving. Um, and the more we develop this objectivity of Retsu, the more, or the less we are influenced by the idea or the concepts of time and space. What do I mean by this? When let's do this as a contemplation, actually. Go back inside, pay attention inside. And try to identify or observe how much you are influenced by time. How much of your day-to-day life is ruled by the clock? by the time. It is useful. That's how we know when class will start and we can be here. But observe how much it can limit you, or it can cause headaches if you're stressing out about time. What about space, location? How much are you thinking of where you'd rather be? How much are you thinking of not liking the space you're in at the moment or where you have to go? Again, very useful. If you have a meeting, it's good to know where you need to go for that meeting. But observe how no matter how much you think you need to go somewhere or you have to be somewhere else, you are where you are. And just in a very general way, try to see how much suffering, how much or how many headaches do you get because of your perception of time and space? Feel it. There is an attachment. Good. And now go back to that observation deck. Go back to that visualization of being enormously tall. And from that skyscraper, if you will, look how everything keeps on moving. Everything is flowing. And just find that feeling of relief or release that comes with having the objectivity of knowing everything is moving, everything is changing. Good. No matter how much you want to control time, you are always in the present moment. No matter how much you want to control your location, how much you want to control or define space, you are always exactly where you are. Accept new realities. Let go of the control, the grasp you have on what you perceive and how you perceive. Everything is just moving. Good. Take a deep breath and come back. I want to go back to Kai and Jin. With Kai, I said, or I told you guys that Kai is about finally kind of looking towards the outside again. It's like I've been observing myself. I understand all of these mechanics, all of these inner workings within me. Now I want to see outside and notice how these same mechanics also apply to the outside. And then once I look outside and I see that everyone's going through the same, the forgiveness or the understanding of Jin happens. But there's still no actual, let's say, interaction, or there's still no taking action yet. You're just looking out, you're getting that understanding, that compassion. And now that you see that everything is moving, with Retsu, we actually want to move, take action. Now that I see that everything is doing the best it can, now that I understand that everything's fire, that everything's just life happening, now I want to, with Retsu, we want to choose or decide, how do I want to move? What is going to be my point of view or my perception of things? That's where the objectivity comes from. You have that more objective perception, but you might still choose to, going back to my earlier example, you know, because you've been on the top of that skyscraper, you know how the city works, how everything's moving. But once you're back on the ground floor, you still get to choose where to walk. You choose which direction to move. So Retsu is that invitation for us to move with objectivity. Yes, you know that everything's moving. You know that if you don't make it to your appointment on time, it's just an experience. You know that. You know that you're doing the best you can if you can make that appointment. So you forgive yourself and you're compassionate, and you won't feel you are responsible of all of that. But now you're choosing to look at this experience from that point of view of time and space, and if you're objective now, you are going to choose to do your best to really make it there on time. So it's not like you're going to stay in your bed without moving for 7 hours thinking like, I'm here and now, so there's no appointment, or I don't have to do my job, or I don't have to take care of my children because everything's here, everything's now, and everything's moving, and everything's an experience. So if I don't shower and bathe for 3 months, I'll still be okay and I don't need anything. No, I mean, yes, it is just an experience, but you know that we live in this society and in this world where it is expected of us that we will look kind of clean every now and then. We'll go out and we'll work and we'll have some food every now and then. So because that's the, let's say that's the more localized perspective, we interact from that point of view. Does this make sense, or am I being confusing? You have this big open perception idea that everything's just moving and everything is just an experience. But you are still a human being that needs to pay rent. So you live wherever it is that you live, you have the job that you have, and you have to go in at a certain time and you get off at a certain time. So you move from with that experience, with that perception. I mean, that is the teaching of Retsu. Don't believe that your location, your job, the the your work, what you do, and the time you go in and out, and the time you spend there. Don't believe that's the one and only and ultimate reality. It is one way of experiencing that reality, of perceiving reality. But there is so much more. Life is still moving. You could be, imagine, you could be the mountain. You could be there for millions of years, that for you, it's your lifetime. If your lifetime was 1,000,000 years and you were a mountain, you'd feel like you were moving. In my life, I moved. I went from being no mountain to being a big mountain to probably becoming a volcano. That's your lifetime, and for you, it felt like, oh yeah, my lifetime's over. I did it. I was a mountain. But for the little human beings around you during all those millions of years, you were doing nothing. You were just there. So how do you adapt to the different experiences? How do you perceive from a different point of view? Be open to new realities, be open to new points of view. If you Have you ever noticed how for children, well, and for many adults too, but I'm using children as this example, how children get so excited about, let's say, Christmas, for example, or about their birthday. And the more we grow, because we've experienced so many Christmases and so many birthdays, it's not as exciting anymore. From the perspective of that child, this is like a big event, and it took so long for Christmas to come because it was a whole year. When you've only lived 3 years, 1 year is a third of your life. When you have lived 30 years, 1 year is a fraction of your life. So how you perceive the events in that 1 year or in that event, it is so different. So that is Retsu, remain objective, but know how to interact, know how to move, how to flow with that flow of time or that flow of energy, that movement of Jin or the fire that is always moving and happening. Breathe. Today I want to, let's go into the technical part of this, the details of the practice. And today I want to start with the mantra. The mantra for Retsu. Well, first of all, the seal is called Retsu. Now, the letter U at the end of Retsu, it's almost silent. So you could pronounce it even just Rets, or you could say Retsu, very pronounced, or it's kind of like you almost start saying the U and you drop it, Retsu. So there is not, it is not a big hard U sound. It's not dramatic if you say Retsu, but just wanted to mention that. Now, the mantra is Om Jyotahi Chandoga Jivatai Swaha. I guess nowadays it's becoming more standard, but if you had learned KUJI-IN in the past, there was a period of time when the mantra was little, it had different variations. I believe some people, and I think even in some of Maha's earliest books, he had the mantra as Om Jyoti Hi. Chandora Jivatai Swaha, and there were some other, I think Shivagam at one point taught it as Om Jota Ha or Joti Ha. So there was some confusion there with the vowels in the Joti Hi, Jota Ha. So a few years ago, we decided to just standardize it, and we all agreed that it should be Jotahi, the way it is on the document I gave you. So if you've learned it in a different way, it's not, again, it's not dramatic, but now if you're planning and if you're used to pronouncing it in a different way than what it is now, sometimes we get so used to a certain pronunciation. It's okay if you keep doing it the way you've been doing it. But just know that if in the future you're planning to teach this or to share this with everyone, try to go back into this standardized form that we have agreed on, okay? So Jota Hi. The word Jota itself means light. And I believe when you add that Hi at the end, it means and, like when you're saying this and that. So light and Chandora. And Chandora means sometimes we translate it as sound, but it's not necessarily sound. It's more of the sound of chanting. So when you are repeating something over and over, it's like this humming sound or this chanting sound. So Jotahi Chandoga means, let's just say, light and sound or light and chanting. And when we think of sound, we think of sound as vibration. When you feel a sound, when you are, I don't know, at a concert or at a club or somewhere where the music is very loud, you can feel the vibration of the music. So by using the word sound here, we're trying to evoke that feeling of vibration. So you could even say light and vibration with Jotahi and Chandala. It's light and sound or light and vibration, however you want to see it. But the idea is that Jiva Tai, well, Jiva means life. And Tai is like a stream or like a flow, something that's flowing. So Jotahi Chandoga Jivatai means that life is a stream of light and vibration. Life is just sound and light moving. So whatever it is that you're experiencing, wherever it is that you are, or whatever, perspective or perception you have, what you're looking at is sound and vibration. It's energy moving. That's basically what it means. So if you make it to work on time, that's just sound and movement. That's just life happening. It's just energy moving. If you don't make it and you decide to not show up to work ever again, that also is just life happening. It's just energy moving. If you are going through the most wonderful time in your life, guess what? That's just light and sound happening, flowing. And when you're going through the hardest, most difficult situation in your life, that is also just light and sound moving, vibrating. So the thing is, if everything is the same, if everything is just light and sound, why do anything? It's very similar to what we experienced earlier with Rin and even with Kyo. Some of you asked that question. Well, if everything's the same, why act? Why move? Because it is beautiful to buy into the different perspectives. It's nice to buy into the idea of I'm a I'm a professional that needs to work from 9 to 5. Okay, take that perspective, take that perception, and flow with it. Do your best. It is nice to say like, oh, I practice KUJI-IN and I have my class at this time. Well, flow with that, go with that perception, show up to your class, do your practice, but know that that is not the ultimate reality. The ultimate reality is that everything's just life and sound. And no matter what experience you end up going through, everything is just a stream of light and sound. Om Jyota Hi Chandola Jivatai Swaha. And again, I mean, I haven't mentioned this in for a few classes now, but we still have that swaha at the end. Why? Because I want to surrender. I really want to let go of everything in me that fights this. Everything in me that is still so attached to a more localized perception. I want to let it go. I want to go back to that observation deck where I can see everything is just moving. Wherever I look, whatever I see, it's just light and sound moving. It's just vibration happening. Good. Breathe. Let's talk about the mudra now. The mudra for RETSU is interesting. It's not a difficult one, but I think it's interesting because it is the first one where we don't have both hands doing exactly the same. It's not symmetrical. It's not like a mirrored mudra. So all of the mudras we've done up to this point, both hands are doing the exact same thing. So it talks about that coming together of the human and the soul. Before we can go back and move outside, we have to, let's say, unify criteria. We have to get our soul and our human in the same mindset, in the same perspective. They are looking at things the same, so that now we can go back outside, interact, move in the world, and now both can do their thing per se. So we have the left index finger pointing up or pointing out, and this symbolizes like the human is now moving. Like I said, we use the index to point, so that's how we move, that's how we affirm energy. So The human is ready to go out into the world and move. Now it's ready to interact again with the outside. Knowing itself as the Vajra or as that divine being, now it wants to move. But it doesn't just want to go out and move freely. It wants to move surrounded or enveloped by the soul, by the divine knowledge or wisdom. So yes, I'm still gonna be a human and go out and go to work and be in relationships and get heartbreaks and pay taxes and whatever it is that humans do. But I'm not gonna do it unconsciously. I'm gonna do it covered or surrounded by the divine knowledge that everything is transforming, everything's evolving. I'm doing the best I can, everything we've learned so far. So the mudra itself, like I said, is your index, left index is pointing out, and then the thumb and the index of your right hand are in contact with the tip of your left index finger, and the rest of them just kind of just go in and surround or just hold on to the finger. So a lot of the times people just grab the finger and that's it, but try to remember to keep the thumb and the index of the right hand in contact with the tip of your left index finger. So it's not just grabbing it, they're actually in touch. So I usually, when I'm teaching it, I go like that, and then I surround. But when I'm just doing it fast, I already know that they will be in touch. Okay, so that's the thing to keep in mind. Your thumb and index on the right hand, they're not just gonna go around and kind of grasp it. No, they're actually touching the tip of the other hand. Okay. And again, that's the meaning. I am moving out into the world. I get to interact. I've already seen, going back to my personal experience from my vacation, I've seen New York City from the heights. I know which side I should go if I want to go to Central Park, which side I should walk to if I want to get downtown. Now that I've seen it, now that I have an idea of where everything is and how everything's moving, I choose to go down out into the streets and start walking. That is the index finger moving. And I know that even if it looks like it's all full of concrete buildings and noise, I know that objectively, I know that eventually I will reach a point where I'll be in Central Park and it will be quiet and green all around me. Even if all I can see right now is buildings, I have the knowledge, I have the wisdom that there will be something else eventually. Does that make sense with this idea of you have that bigger perspective, that global perspective, even when you are in the middle of that limited or localized perspective? Good. And I still choose to move. Now, the chakra for RETSU is the Jade Gate chakra. Now, the Jade Gate is not usually considered one of the main chakras in most traditions, because sometimes it's like they consider both the third eye and the Jade Gate as just one big chakra, but it's like there are two components to this chakra. Or, well, let me rephrase that. Usually when we think about the chakra that deals with perception, we say it's the third eye. The way I see it, or the way I like to explain it, is there are two chakras that deal with perception. One's the Jade Gate, one's the third eye. The way I explain it, it's like the Jade Gate is the one that receives all the information and processes things. And then the third eye is the one that really turns it into reality, or that projects it, that manifests it into reality. The way I like to see it is, we all have a screen right in front of us right now. What you see on the screen would be the third eye. The information that's coming in from the internet, from the cables and everywhere, wherever it is that is inputting the information that shows up in your screen, that is what the jade gate processes. So earlier we said that the mantra is telling us that everything is just light and sound, or light and vibration. Basically, if we want to do a more modern version of this mantra, what we're saying is everything is data. Everything is just data being processed. So the jade gate is the data processor. And once you process all that data, all that light and sound and vibration, you create an image. You create the perception. So going back to my example, I have the data of all of New York City around me that I saw from the observation deck. But right now, I'm choosing to just see the park, Central Park. So right now, I'm choosing to take the data of all of the green and just focus on that specific area per se. And that's all I see. There's data. I have the data. I have the knowledge that there are many other things around me. But right now, this is what I'm choosing to see. This is what I'm choosing to focus on. So that is how the jade gate is related to perception. It is what processes all the information you get, all the data you get. And then through your third eye, that's how you manifest, or how you really experience, how you go and live what you are choosing to perceive or to process. And we'll get into that next week. But the jade gate is located in the back of our head, right where we have that little ridge or that little bump in the back of our heads. That's where the jade gate is usually located. If you have seen, if you have ever seen the movie The Matrix, that's where you are plugged in into the Matrix, because again, that's where you're being fed all the data. That's where you're getting all that information that will create your reality, that will create how you perceive life. You in the movie, you are just sitting there in that chair being fed all that data and in the ship in the darkness, but you are perceiving yourself to be in the middle of a city having a wonderful food. So it's the same idea. Now, by the way, if you've never seen The Matrix, I highly recommend it because you can see all of these examples there. So yes, that's the jade gate. And that is where we will focus for this practice. Now, for the visualization for RETSU, what we do is we try, well, of course, we focus our attention in the jade gate, and then you begin to visualize or contemplate that idea that, again, everything is just vibration and sound, and you try to visualize like everything going into like a black color, like there is nothing or everything is exactly the same. And you kind of want to find your own personal way of visualizing this seal. So in your document, I believe it does say, yeah, it says find your own simple and abstract visualization. Why don't we tell you what to visualize exactly? Because again, this is about your own personal perception. So maybe perhaps from everything I've been explaining, or any other class you might have taken about RETSU, perhaps there was something that clicked for you, and it came and that became like your way of seeing it. And it's your personal way. It's how you perceive RETSU. It's how you've learned it. So nothing will be as effective as your own personal perception of things. So use your visualization, use whatever works for you. So as long as you're focusing your attention on the jade gate and you are kind of keeping or contemplating that idea that everything is just energy and everything is just vibration, everything is just movement, you will find a visualization that works for you. Okay. Any questions or any comments? Okay. So then let's go ahead and do the initiation, the practice of RETSU. Take a deep breath. Pay attention inside. And just take a moment to observe, how do you feel right now? Are there any reactions? Any resistances? Whatever you find, whatever you feel, just breathe into it, feel it, embrace it. Take a deep breath, exhale, making a sound so that you can release some of that pressure. Good. Now do the mudra of RETSU. And I want you to pay attention to the mudra. Feel your hands, observe your hands doing this. Pay attention and observe what is the feeling? What is the taste of this mudra? Just allow yourself to feel it, taste it. Actually, you can even try to do this. Just point without doing the mudra. Just use your left hand and point with your index finger. And observe, how does that feel? Just pointing out without the other hand embracing the index. And what changes when you do the full mudra? Try to observe if you notice a difference. Good. And now, doing the mudra, bring your focus to your jade gate. And contemplate that idea of Everything is light and vibration. Everything is energy. Moving. It's a constant flow, a constant stream. Every moment, every second, I'm experiencing light and vibration. There is no difference in what I am experiencing now to what I experienced 4 months ago, from what I will experience in 5 years. Because I will still be experiencing light and sound flowing. Breathe. Have a global perspective. And without losing sight of that global perspective, choose to interact from a localized, from a limited perspective. Move with objectivity. Yes, everything is light and sound, but you still have bills to pay. So work. Because if you call your electric company and tell them that you want to pay with light and sound, they probably won't accept that as payment. So go out and make money, knowing that the money you make is light and sound. Knowing that the titles, professional titles you get, the cars and houses you own, they're all just light and sound. But if you like a certain car, go for it. Buy it. Get it. Just don't forget, it's light and sound. It's energy. Om Jyotahi Chando Vajivatai Swaha. Life is a flow, a stream of light and sound. Life is energy flowing, vibrating. And from that observation deck, just find joy, simple joy in observing life flowing, in observing creation moving. Pay attention to the flow of creation with objectivity. RETSU. Om Jotahi Chanda Vajivatahi Swaha. Everything is light. Everything is vibration. Your hands forming the mudra are light and vibration. The chair you're sitting on is light and vibration. The air you breathe is energy. The sounds you hear are energy. Om Jotahi Chanda Vajivatahi Swaha. Om Jotahi Chanda Vajivatahi Swaha. Imagine, visualize all that stream of energy, that stream of data coming into your jade gate. Being processed with objectivity. Om Jotahi Chanda Vajivatahi Swaha. Om Jotahi Chanda Vajivatahi Swaha. Om Jotahi Chanda Vajivatahi Swaha. Breathe light and sound. Inhabit light and sound. Feel light and sound. Observe light and sound. Be conscious that you are conscious of the light and sound all around you. Om Jotahi Chanda Vajivatahi Swaha. Om Jotahi Chanda Vajivatahi Swaha. Good. Take a deep vocal breath and come back. release your mudra. Good. Okay. All right. Now I know the recommendation this whole time has been to practice the seal of the week, but especially now with Retsu, Zai, and Sen, I would really encourage you to make an effort to practice them daily, or if you have been practicing all of them daily, perhaps do a bit of a longer practice with these three, the last three seals, just because, like I said at the beginning, sometimes the concepts are more abstract and you really learn more about them through the practice than through the actual teaching or the actual class. So I would really encourage you to do an effort this next 3 weeks to really practice and connect with Retsu, with Sai, and with Sen. Any questions, any comments about today's class? Robert, I do have that document now ready. I don't know if did I know I sent it to Ram. I don't know if she sent it out to everyone, or do you know if she did?
No, I don't have her available, but I can check with her tomorrow and find out.
Okay.
Yeah,
If not, I can just put share the file here in Zoom. I believe we can do that. Let me just get it. And like I said before, this file is actually, this chart is actually one that I use for the advanced class. So if there are things in the chart that you don't understand or you don't get, don't worry, you're not meant to, but it's mostly to see the list of the related deities and Buddhas with each of the seals. So where did it go? Find it. Here we go. In the meantime, are there any other questions or comments?
I was going to share when we were doing the mudra, the almost like a feeling of the ego feeling constrained or restricted by the soul,
Right.
but it also felt like responsibility, consciousness of the action of the finger, you know, that it was kind of like, hey, let go of me. But at the other hand, it was, oh, okay, cool. I'm responsible.
Right. I guess I hadn't looked at it like that, but I can relate. I could totally get that feeling. For me, when the right hand is not really like embracing the left, it just feels like a more I was gonna say free, like more freedom in the movement, but it's not necessarily freedom. It's more like an ego-based sort of feeling, like I want to go out and do whatever I want, and like without a care in the world. And then to me, it feels like once the other hand like comes in and really embraces it, there was this feeling of like containment. Like, yes, I can still go out and do whatever I want, but through that responsibility. And I focus more on the nice feeling of, oh yeah, feels more contained. But if I pay attention, that other part that you're mentioning is also there. Like you're feeling like, I'm being constrained or something like that. So perhaps that's something to observe more deeply and work on. thank you for sharing it, because I can totally observe that in my own personal experience as well. Thank you. All right. Well, I did share the document here in Zoom. You can download it now from there. I think it should give you all an option to do it. And even if you don't, I will, well, I'll email Rams so she can email it to Rin, because she did translate it to French as well. Eva says she doesn't see it. Do the rest of you see it? Can you all see the file? Are you, maybe if you're in your phone, perhaps there's not an option for that, Eva. I don't know if you're in your phone, but you should be, if you can get it now, you'll get it at some point in the week, Eva. So don't worry. I'm in my phone. Yeah, I think it's not a feature that's available if you're in your phone. All right. Well, I guess that's it for today then. I will see you all next week, and thank you very much.
Thank you, SukhiSam. Great class.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thanks, you too.
Thanks.